Mitch Robinson, gee whiz, it's fantastic to have you back on the Dyl Friends podcast. The first show we did was a while back, but to have you on again, my friend, it's always good to have you.
It's funny because I get asked a lot, when are you going on the Dyl Friends podcast? And I'm like, I've been on it. But it's like, does anyone ever see that episode or not? Like, I need to ask you about the stats around that because I've been on the podcast.
I know.
I thought we did a pretty good job.
So did
the
I.
first time you didn't record our first one because... Do you not run people through that? Because we didn't really speak about it because it was a bit embarrassing at the time, but I think you can tell the fans now what actually happened.
It was so embarrassing because, as it is, like I know, and you're a great friend of mine, and we've known each other for a long time, but I actually still think about this, and every single podcast I do, I have like mini anxiety attacks about this because, long story short, I did this post last night, and I was like, it's been just over 2 years since I started the podcast, and I was like, I look back and I was like, oh my God, like some of these, some of the stuff that you do early days when you start a podcast, and you're just like, that was absolutely horrific. Like, it's so embarrassing. It's so funny, but like, it's so amateur. But at the end of the day, like, I'm so happy with them. And I'm sure, you've done stuff like that as well, where you go, what was I thinking? But if you don't start somewhere, you don't get anywhere. So we had an incredible chat. It was a night before, I think, Brisbane was playing Giants. You were good enough to say, mate, come over to my, room. We set up the podcast, had the new gear, was so excited to sit down and have a chat, had this massive chat planned out. I reckon we chatted for like dead set an hour and a half. It was probably one of the best episodes that we've ever done. And all of a sudden at the end, I went to press like stop recording and realised that I hadn't even pressed record the whole thing.
Oh, we're living the dream, weren't we? I was like, this is such a great one. And just to see your face is priceless. Like, you press record, you're like, oh, hang on, that's only been going for 10 seconds. What the hell? And then you're like, oh no, Mitch. And I've had that feeling before. I've recorded a whole episode myself and hadn't pressed record. Like, you worry about the cameras, you worry about all this other stuff, and just pushing that little button. And you had some like little dinky thing as well at the start. I don't know what that recording machine was. I'm not sure. I think it was my dad's. The second one was good, man. It was great, but I think like that's why it's always good to get you back on again. And I've fucking seriously, I'm recording off 2 phones, my Rodecaster Pro, my laptop, and via memory as well. So look, it's definitely getting recorded. But for anyone out there that's ever starting a podcast, like, far out, man. That's number one thing. I was just lucky that we know each other pretty well, so you weren't like wigging out too bad, even though you felt bad.
But imagine if, I felt terrible. You had a game and we were recording it till like 11 o'clock, like that night. But anyway, we'll move on. But have you ever done that yourself?
Yeah, I've done it a couple of times. Because I have a podcast myself, as people probably know. And we started out in a like amateur, like pretty much like you don't know what you're doing really. You just got a couple of mics there and you're just talking shit. And we recorded this whole episode went for about an hour and something half. And I've looked down at the Rodecaster because you can press record on the Rodecaster. And I've looked down at that and I've just gone, oh my God, I haven't even pressed record yet. And my co-host Sean Tobin was like, Rob Dog, come on, mate. So then we had to record it all over again, even though it probably flowed better the second time because you already know what you're going to say. But it just was not it at all. And I'm pretty sure everyone's been through it, so you can't get too hung up about it. But we are back for another episode with Dyl Friends Pod. Yo! Yeah, what's news with you, mate? How's Melbourne going down there? So I know it's pretty hardcore at the moment.
Oh, mate, it's pretty hardcore. Yeah, as we know, I'm at home at the moment. We're 3 weeks into a 6-week lockdown. So it's been crazy. Like I can't, but like it sounds weird. And I had a really good chat with Ben Crow about this last week. I'm trying to like focus on the positives and get as many episodes as I can. Like, good news is I'm chatting to you today. I'm catching up with all these people, and like my work hasn't been affected too much at all, which has been incredible. But man, like I can't remember honestly what it's like to even leave the house. Like when we leave, we're allowed out for an hour a day. We wear masks. Like the other day I was walking and saw a cop and I was like, am I even sort of like freaked out, like thinking like, am I even allowed to be outside right now? I couldn't remember.
That's what happens when you're driving as well. Like if you see a police officer behind you, you just start like wigging out thinking, oh, have I done something wrong? You just instantly start thinking that.
Oh, seriously. Nah, but it's different. It's very different at the moment. But yeah, hopefully in the next 3 weeks, man. Hopefully we can get this all sorted, and we'll be on our way, and then the sunshine will come out too, which will be nice. But Brisbane, man, like you guys, I've been obviously chatting with you. Like you guys are flying at the moment. It's going well on the field and off the field.
Well, it's another sunny day here. It's been really like, I know silver lining for you in terms of what you're doing now with the Dyl Friends and List Cloggers and all your media you're doing. It's silver lining kind of for you, which is finding a positive out of negatives. But up here, I don't like doing the over the like webcam type stuff interactions. I'd rather do face to face, and that's where you do a lot better work than me. So I give you a shout out for that. It's pretty good by you. But it's been really good up here since we got back into footy. We've won 10 out of I think 14 games, maybe 13 games. I think we're 10-3 at the moment. So on field we're going really well. Off field's just as good, really. We can't complain. We're on like self isolation, so we got our own rules. How we can't go to cafes. We can't go to all those other things like that. We can just pretty much go from home to training. You can get takeaways. That's about it, and then you go straight home. So we've been doing that since round 2. So it's been a while. We do have the luxury that we can do other things as well, like outside, and we don't have to wear the masks. And I think there's 5 visitors can come to your house, all that kind of stuff. But for us, we can't have anyone. We can't have anyone. But the Brisbane public themselves are doing pretty good up here.
How was the one thing that is not ideal, but it's something that I feel I've got mixed emotions about this, because if I was playing footy at this stage, and going into the hubs like all the boys are at the moment, like, I have a feeling like 50% of it I would have loved it, and then the other 50% I would have hated it. Because like 50% of it, you're just literally hanging out. I literally see all the boys, all they're doing is like they're playing games, they're playing table tennis, hanging out with each other, going to the beach, playing golf, and then just playing footy. Obviously you get over those things and whatnot. But did you enjoy it?
We went to Sydney for 3 weeks in the hub down there, and I didn't mind it at all. It was awesome to get away from the family for a couple of weeks there and spent some time with the boys. No, I really enjoyed it. I could understand that a lot of boys would get cooped up and a little bit of anxiety stuck in hotel rooms and stuff for the whole time. But I think the AFL done a pretty damn good job in keeping them all occupied and keeping them sane. But every time I speak to one of the, some players that I know, like after a game, they're all loving it. Not in terms of loving, I mean like they don't complain because they probably don't want to or make excuses, but they're actually enjoying some things that you can do there. As you said, they play a lot of games, a lot of free time. They can probably get caught up in their own psyche. But I think when we did the 3 weeks, it was kind of new for me, and it was a good opportunity to get away with the little squad that we had. We only took 27 players, where other teams are taking a full list of 40-something players. So a little bit different for them. I know that a lot of them are staying at resorts and playing golf and look like they're having fun, but behind closed doors, it could be probably some mental demons there, but I think everyone's handling it pretty well.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like that. I don't do anything anyway. Like I literally just stay in my own house regardless, play video games, stream, do the podcast, hang out with the kids. So I'm not too much affected by it. Yeah,
but I think you're underselling yourself there, because as much as you stream and you do these things and you game, like that for you isn't just a hobby. Like you've actually been able to turn that into somewhat of a career and something outside of footy that gives you a release. Something that like I worry about with players, and not like this is something that I'm extremely passionate about, and I think I push this on people too much sometimes because I just know that it'll work for me, but I realise it's not for everyone. But I struggle the most when all my eggs are in one basket, and like I think you would have been the same, maybe when early in your career, like if you were just playing footy and you don't have anything else outside of footy, like if footy goes wrong, then everything else goes wrong. Whereas like if you're doing more than one thing, like just say like with your footy, and this is, I don't know if this is true, but I'm from an outside friend, like looking at your career and how it's, turned around. I think because you've moved interstate, you got your family there, you're playing footy, but then you're also so engaged off field now with your gaming, with your podcasting and all your other shit. Like surely that has benefited you, not just in your footy, but like mentally as well.
We pretty much nailed it. When I first got up here, I had a little bit of a dark moment and stuff in my career where I got delisted and didn't have a job there for about 3 to 4 weeks until I got my new contract with the Brisbane Lions. When I first got up here, I talked to the club psych and the counsellor, and we were talking about like, what do you have off field? Because that was a big wake up call for me. I didn't have anything going for me other than football, and all the young players and the players coming through the system now, they've been told to do something outside of footy to take your mind off it. Because if you're 24/7 football, you just get caught up in it, and you can play some of your probably worst footy in your career, and you get too emotionally invested in it. So when I got up here, we spoke to the counsellor, and we're like, "What kind of hobbies do you have?" And I was like, "Fucking hobbies. I hang out with my children. Like I had a 1-year-old son then. I was like, I don't really do anything." And we're like, "Oh, so what do you do by yourself? Like, do you do anything by yourself? Do you go anywhere?" I'm like, "Oh, well, I go to the movies sometimes by myself. Like, that's a good way to get away from things." That's the only thing I was doing, man.
And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way.
Is there anything wrong with that? Like, I didn't think there was,
No.
but I get teased a lot for doing that. I still do it today.
No.
I like going to the movies by
No.
myself.
No, I don't want to. I want to get back to what you're talking about, but just quickly on that topic of going to the movies by yourself, because you've hit a chord with me. Why do you need to go to the movies with someone? Like, you're not meant to talk in a cinema anyway. So, like, I don't want to go to the movies with, like, 5 friends because they're going to talk to me when I'm trying to watch the movie. Anyway, back to what you're saying. Sorry, keep going.
So the counsellor, we spoke about like what was my old passions. I used to love motorbike riding, skateboarding. Obviously, you can't do that because I've had contracts, and if you get injured doing that, you get slapped on the wrist. So I talked about gaming. I used to be an avid gamer when I was younger, like from when I was like 7, 8 years old all the way through till I got drafted. And Simon White pretty well, and I used to play World of Warcraft in home, and he would tease me on the regular about playing video games, and I kind of put that on the back burner for a little bit and focus on footy. So I was having some sleepless nights with that. Playing World of Warcraft for about 12 hours straight at night time, then going to training and trying to be the Bruiser Robinson. So we talked about that, and that's when I just started gaming again, and that's kind of like when my football took a turn for the best, and I started playing some of my best footy of my career because I had other avenues to focus my energy on, not just go to footy, come home, think about footy. If I had a bad game, I just like mentally just drain the shit out of you all week, then trying to rectify those things. So the gaming and the podcast stuff has been honestly the best things that I ever could have done to get some longevity in my career and making sure that I'm mentally switched on when I need to be and switch off when I need to. So that's why I love doing this, and I'll continue to keep doing this. Although sometimes I had a bit of backlash, especially last week with those events happening. So, but it's good. I'm back on everything. So I'm enjoying that. But this year's been a bit different, to be honest. Like the COVID stuff, and that's kind of made my profile a bit more, I guess, not respectable. But I've been doing a lot more other things in the media and connecting with the fans and stuff in other ways. But it's just been a weird year. I probably haven't played my best footy, but I've played more of a team role, if that makes sense. In that defensive winger. So we're winning games, and I'm happy, and the club's happy. So we'll keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, man, no, you definitely have. And I think that first and foremost, it's about being consistent off the field in terms of like having those hobbies and being connected to them. Because like if we speak about hobbies again, and I know I harp on about this, and this isn't, by the way, just football players and sports people. I think that this is like something that every single person has to do. Like whether you're a tradie, an accountant, you fucking, I don't know, you work in a bank, anything like that. Like, I just don't feel that gone are the days where like you work a job from when you're like 18 and then retire doing the same thing. Like, you can do so many different things now. And if you want to do something different, like you should be doing whatever you want to do. Because now like technology and stuff, like you said, you can do whatever you want.
You just got to find something you're passionate about, though. Like, I only really excel at things that I'm passionate about. If I'm just doing it for half-assed reasons, then it's going to get a half-assed result. So gaming, podcasting, I'm so passionate about that. That's something that I want to do post-footy too. So that's what I'm thinking along the lines. If I start building that brand now, then I can like transition into that a lot easier. So I've got one more year on the contract next year. 31 at the moment. I'm turning into a bit of a boomer, a bit of an old boy. So I'm going to start thinking about life past footy, and that's a scary thing, but it's also trying to make the best so I can transition a lot easier, because you see a lot of players struggle with that, coming to grips with no schedule, no routine, and that can really derail some blokes. So I just want to make sure that I've got that covered. Something
that I love about what you've done, and you've done this probably better than anyone, I think, in the AFL, because you've consistently played footy. Been in the team, you've consistently played, good, bad, indifferent, and you front up and you do media and you do your podcast no matter what. Like, even if you're not going as well as you want on field, you still do it. And I don't know if you've listened to last week I had a podcast with Ben Crow. Do you know who Ben Crow is? Have you listened to that one?
Yeah, the mindful guy. I did watch the highlights of that.
You should listen to it because it's good. He talks about like the storytelling of like athletes and like how basically, which is what I'm imploring to you, because I think you've done this well, is like because you have your own platform and you don't rely on a bigger media source to tell your story, it actually then gives fans more insight into what you're actually like as a person. Therefore, they actually understand you more and don't criticize you as much for your persona, let alone your person. So it's all about like splitting your persona versus the person you are. Do you know what I mean? So like if someone says something to you, if someone's abusing you on social media, which I want to talk about because there was something that happened a couple of weeks ago, which was fucking hilarious, but not so funny, but funny. And what I'm saying is that you can realize now that the people that abuse players on social media, because we've seen it a lot this week and this month. Basically, you had a run-in with yourself. Zach Butters had a run-in. Callum Ward got a death threat. Tom Grimes got death threats. So many other players are copping all this hate on social media at the moment. But I think like one message that I definitely learned out of Ben Crowe, which I think that it's so important for guys to realise is like these people that are attacking people on social media are attacking the persona of a person, not the actual person. Like they don't know what that is actually like.
They don't know the individual, do they? Like all they do is see what they see in the media, in the publications, and what they build you up to look like. So Dylan Grimes, for example, on the weekend, he's just obviously copped it pretty harsh after his like when he put a bit of mayo on a dive or something. I think someone was saying, and he just copped death threats, and he just was copying left, right, and center. So they don't know Dylan Grimes. They just see what they saw in the game, and that's what they're attacking. So that's what it really annoys me because I don't know any of these players. They don't know that, like, unless the only opinions that matter are the ones you actually know and love, like your family and your close friends. Like they don't know you, so that's what they're attacking is just the persona you're talking about, or what the media makes you look like to be. So I don't know. It's happened since Instagram started, really. But now it's more prevalent now. They can get access, and I think the best thing about the players and other people, they're calling it out more now, especially the racial vilification stuff. Like that's a no-go, and that like we've come a long way since probably the Adam Good saga when all that was going on. It's been heavily publicised that players will come out now and call that shit out because we've had enough of it. So credit to the people who are sticking up for everyone out there, and to the haters, you can get a life pretty much. But
yeah. Get a life.
Get a life.
Idiots.
You don't know me, mate.
We're talking about a serious topic now of social media, but the one thing that is extremely serious is the racial vilification, which we've touched on last time we chatted. Obviously a good friend of mine, and I think he's a good friend of yours as well. Tony Armstrong was incredible when he came on the show and talked about the effects that this sort of stuff has had on Indigenous people. Indigenous round this week was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Your beautiful fiancé, Emma, is a proud Indigenous woman, and she actually did a lot. Well, she does a lot of the boot designs for the players every year. Who did she do this year? Because I know she did Buddy this year, was it?
No, she didn't do Buddy this year. She does it last year. He's not playing at the moment. He's done for the year. She did Dustin Martins, Jack Rewalds. Yeah, sorry, buddy. Nathan Broad. And she was doing him for Jen Henderson too, but she missed that deadline. But she has been getting a lot of requests to do some work, and she does a fantastic job with all this stuff. But it was pretty cool to see her do Dusty's boots again because she did them last year for him, but he went through that little period where he kept changing boots and sponsors and stuff, so that he didn't get to rock them on the MCG. But he's looked really, really good, and so did Jack Rewald. So they both play. I think Dusty probably got 3 Brownlow votes, so we'll claim that as a family as well. Add that onto my tally. But she's been doing some great work. She's doing, I don't know if I can say it or not, she's doing the AFLW Indigenous jersey for the Kangaroos. She's been doing a lot of paintings for people, and obviously the boots and stuff. So she does an amazing job. Very, very proud of her.
Yeah, she does.
You can check her out at Charlie Wanty on Instagram. Yep. She's killing it at the moment. So yeah, very, very proud of her.
We can buy her artwork as well. Can we?
Yeah, you can. She does commissions and stuff like that. She gets a lot of requests, but because she's doing radio now, so she works from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. Every morning. So she's up at like 3:30. Yeah, she's up at 3:30 doing that. She does the lunches for the kids, and then ducks off and comes back at 9 a.m. with a coffee for me usually. So she's Wonder Woman at the moment, and I'm very, very proud of her.
Mate, I want to and I was hoping that you'd be able to enlighten me a little bit on this, because obviously with Indigenous round, Free the Flag T-shirts were worn by like all the players throughout the season, throughout the round. Obviously that makes sense to free the flag. Do you know, like, I know a little bit about this, but I don't want to comment too much on it because I'm still trying to work out like what this is about. Like, can you explain to us exactly what's happened in this scenario and how people can help out with that sort of thing, if there is any way that we can sort of bring awareness to it?
Yeah, so obviously the Aboriginal flag is held dearly to the Indigenous communities in Australia, and it's only really come to light recently that it's been trademarked and copyrighted. So if you want to use the flag, which should be a free flag, you should be able to use it on clothing, whatever you really want to use it for. If you want to sell some products that has a flag on it, especially for Emma, like if she wants to do something around like an Aboriginal art and has like the flag symbol, she should have to pay to use that, and the money goes to the owner of the flag, who is copyrighted by WAM, which is a white person who owns it. So they have to pay him to use the Aboriginal flag, which is pretty crazy when you think about it, and it's only really come to light now. So they've been making X amount of money for a long time for having the flag copyrighted and trademarked, and from a non-Indigenous person to have that that right is not the right. So freeing the flag is making sure that everyone can use it, especially Indigenous people who want to probably resell some of their own product that might have the flag on there. And that's what the free the flag symbol and the t-shirts have come out. So it was awesome by the AFL and all the teams who jumped on board to join that campaign. As you probably know, they usually have the Indigenous flag in the middle of the centre square in the Indigenous round games, and they didn't have that this year, just to kind of make a stand that you shouldn't have to pay to use that flag, especially for such an important round. So that's where that's a kind of like a small summary of what's going on. There's obviously a lot more detail to that, but it's just kind of a bit of an eye opener to what's happening with that. So
yeah, and just bringing awareness to it.
Yeah, just bringing awareness to it as well. So it was awesome to see all the AFL boys jump on board and represent the shirts proudly, especially at such an important round in our AFL calendar. So there'll be some things going down the track with that. Hopefully they can get that overturned and everyone can use it. But yeah, it's a pretty big deal. Yeah,
it's crazy, man. And yeah, you're right. It should not be. Everyone should, all Indigenous people should have the right to be able to use their own flag. It's pretty crazy to think that isn't allowed. So hopefully, we can bring more awareness to it. Mate, so basically, again, a reason I really wanted to get you on was we chatted about it just before we touched on it, but the network that you've created, and you said that, it's obviously been something that you found passion for outside of footy. I've done it myself, but I'm not a footy player anymore.
Are you going to play footy again? You playing local or nothing? Oh, you can't really.
Man, no.
How's the rig?
Bro, quick side note to this before I bring this up. So I'm in career best fitness right now, okay? So I said to myself, you remember how bad I was at running? But lightning quick. I'm telling you now, I was quicker than Jeffy and Yaz.
Three quick steps.
Agree with me.
Out of the stoppage, yeah, definitely.
All you need is the first 5 meters. That's all that matters. Anyway, my fitness was I think the first... I was very light, like 60 kilos. My first run around Princess Park, I think I ran maybe like a 14 minute. Man, I'm telling you now, I come second last to Yaz in that run.
Yeah, and Yaz is pretty bad, man.
And he was I think he was running backwards pretty much.
Yeah, he was. He was running 15, 16s. There's no way you ran a 14.
I never liked, man, I did. I swear to God, I was so unfit. I was trying, I was bad.
Son of Jim just running a 14.
Oh, mate, well, I just didn't know that's, I was so young and naive, I just didn't even realise that fitness was a thing back then. That's how stupid I was when I was 18. Anyway, long story short, you obviously build on it in your career, and when it's your job, you don't love it as much, but ever since I finished playing footy, I just found this love for running, where I was all I do now is go for runs and just love getting out there, no phone, just go for a run. So I've been doing 10Ks, 9Ks, 13K runs, obviously under an hour, just loving it. Anyway, so I was doing 100K month, and I had a week to go, and basically had 75 Ks, and I had 25 to go, and I just done a 10K out, absolutely smashed it out. Got home and went to pick up this box because I'm moving into a new place. Picked up this box and I fell over. And I dead set thought I was paraplegic. I thought I broke my back. And I'm not saying this as a joke because, yeah, it was spinal, man. I've literally just I'd had disc problems in my back since I was, been playing footy. But I was floored on the floor. I was just around, tears were nearly coming out. Like I won't lie, I actually think
Why were you
tears
crying?
came out. Man, I was in
Why are you
so much
crying?
pain. I was in so much pain. Like I was dead set downstairs, like trying to crawl up the stairs. Just sat on the couch. I called, a few doctors.
What doctor did you call? Did you call a Colton doctor or?
Yeah, called Voz straight away. And he's like, "Oh, okay, no worries. Like, we're gonna have to, get someone to come check you out."
Did he have your number still? Were you like,
Yeah, he loves me. He knew straight away, and that made me realise why I do not want to play footy anymore, man.
well,
Like, I just
you
don't
hate
wanna,
contact regardless, but
well, it's not the yeah. That's fair. I don't want to, like, now that I'm working and I'm in the real world, I don't want to have to like rock up to work on a Monday with a back spasm. Like at the moment, I'm sitting here with a heat pack on my spine, and I'm 28, man. No, I'm 27. I'm 27 years old and I can't walk. It's like I don't want to do that anymore.
I feel your pain, man. Actually, I had a back spasm last week. That's why it's making me laugh right now.
Mate, if you had a back spasm like I did, you would not be laughing
I
about
can't
it.
say I've never cried over a back spasm, but I know they're pretty painful.
I wasn't crying. It was just
You're emotional about it. You're emotional about it.
At the time. So you were a pioneer in this, okay? You're a pioneer in AFL in terms of players that podcast, you vodcast, you game, you do all this shit that I have no idea how you do it, but you do it very well. You put it all together. And where I'm getting at here is this: when we first started doing this sort of thing, the amount of people that would have been like, "You guys are the biggest losers. Like, what are you doing? Don't do this."
100%.
And now you look at it, and there's a lot of guys, which is awesome. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm absolutely rapt that there's so many guys now that are starting their own things. How do you think, like, soon the AFL will not turn into like the American side of things, but do you think there will be a lot more guys now starting their own like shows and platforms and all that sort of stuff? Like you've obviously seen as well, like yourself. Then we've got the Lockdown Club guys like Tommy Sheridan and Matty DeBoer and all those boys doing the gaming stuff as well. Forgive me if I've missed anyone else, but there's a lot of guys doing stuff.
Rewalt does a podcast.
Rewalt works for Fox Footy, and does that sort of stuff as well. But in terms of like personal platforms, like doing your own media, because I think guys, I sort of have a theory, and Ben Crow last week, again, I keep bringing it up, brought up to the fact that like a lot of players like to do their own stuff because they can tell their own story without it getting misconstrued. Where do you see it going? Like, do you reckon it's going to go even more?
Well, we're OGs. You started first, I think. You started Dyl Friends, 2 years ago. I think I jumped on a few months after you. I think you kind of, like, without giving you a big head and making you think that you're all that, I think you kind of paved the way for players to have more personality in doing these things because, as you mentioned at the very start of that massive question you just asked me, players are always going to be criticised for what they do, especially if they're trying to have their own platform to talk about things and have their own opinions. Even, like, I've been in this game for a while now, like 12 years in AFL. I've been doing podcasts for about a year and a half now. And even just like last week when I got absolutely torn a new one, publicly hanged pretty much for having an opinion on something which I thought was, my opinion. And you can't really take that and run with it because that's just what I was thinking at the time. And I think players are always going to jump on what's new and cool. I think like podcasting is a pretty special way to be able to connect with the community and showcase your personality and who you really are. We just spoke about before about the people can build you up to be something you're not, your persona. I cross that white line and I turn into someone different, that I actually am. I'm actually a really nice guy. Pretty nice to people and all that kind of stuff. When I cross the line, I'm someone different. So I think that fans and the community get to see another light about you is really, really positive, and I think that's cool. So especially this COVID period, I've seen lots of podcasts start up and even just like non-AFL players doing a lot of podcasts, asking us to go on them. I don't know what your DMs look like, but I'm getting probably 10 a week asking to go on their podcast and give them a shout out and stuff. So I think it's pretty cool. I'll continue to do this and have my opinion as long as, like, I'm still employed by the Brisbane Lions. So I've got to be very careful what I do say. And every podcast I do, I flick it through to them first for them to double check it. So I'm making sure I'm not treading on anyone's toes or saying the wrong thing that could bring any negative attention to the footy club, because that's my primary source of income. That's my employer. So got to make sure I do right by them. But I find it really fascinating that a lot of players are coming and starting to do these podcasts. I just spoke to Andrew Bogut literally like 2 weeks ago. We were just exchanging DMs about podcasting and what equipment and stuff for him to use, and he's just starting his own one up now. So that's pretty cool. Like I've always watched his career and seen what he's been doing, and he's pretty outspoken himself. He likes to have an opinion on a lot of things, and he does cop it from the average punter, but I think he's a really genuine guy and has a good opinion. So I'm looking forward to see what he does. But things like that, where the internet's so big now, you can do whatever you really want to, and I think if people want to accept you and get to know you, these are the perfect avenues for that. So that's why I'll continue to do the gaming and podcasting. But in terms of the way the AFL is going to go, I think media now probably starting to feel a bit not worried or scared, but with players having more of a say and being able to voice their opinions on other platforms, they don't have to go directly through them. So the Herald Suns, these footy shows are probably getting a little bit antsy, if it makes sense, that we don't have to go through them, and we don't need them for an opinion, because we can just put it out there ourselves. So the social media world, we can literally, I can hit 50,000 people right now on Instagram just by putting out a story of what I want to say. I don't have to go through some Fox Footy show or through a publication to get my voice out there. I can just do it myself. So I think the old school media personnel are getting a little bit worried about their jobs, I guess you could say, because you don't really need to go through them.
I think it's a funny point, man, because I think, like, obviously I live in Melbourne, and the biggest thing that annoys me a little bit with and I don't like saying media, because it's not media. It's like it's
I'm not blanking everyone. Like,
exactly.
I'm talking about
specific
personnel,
specific people that like say these things. But the funniest thing is like last week when you said the stuff on Tom Lynch, which we'll touch on in a minute, but forever, everyone's like, we want guys saying, these things. We want guys to speak. We want guys to say what they think.
We want more personality. We want more honesty in the media, in the footy world. And then
and then as soon as you say these things, everyone goes, "Oh, Mitch Robinson needs to worry about getting a kick. He needs to worry about doing this. That's stupid. He shouldn't be saying that." And it's just like, you can't win like with this sort of stuff. So for me, man, I just want you to keep doing your thing, and I know that it's not going to deter you from doing that, but yeah, it's crazy. You're never going to be able to please everyone in this world, and as long as you can just do what you want to do, and people are enjoying it, man. So you just got to keep doing it.
I'll touch on that. Like, I think what you said is exactly true. We get told that they want more access to players. Like every AFLPA delegates meeting that I have or been to or sat in, it's always questions from the media asking to get more access. How do we give more access to players and bring more personality to these footy games? And they're talking about how they lose viewers after half time or quarter time because it's just like they're not fully committed to the game, and it's just game of footy. People watch footy for players like Dusty Munn. I watched Richmond the other night because of Dusty Munn, and obviously because he's wearing Emma's boots. But that's the kind of people that I like to watch. Like, have a bit of he doesn't show much personality really, because he's introverted bloke, keeps his cards to his chest. But those type of things I like to watch just because he's such a big stature in the game. But that's sort of what I kind of mean. Like, they want a lot from us, but then as soon as someone comes out and says something that's against the norm, and I think I got a lot of backlash because people haven't seen that yet, player talking about another player in that light. So a lot of the old heads in the media went to rap with it. And there was a few key ones in there that I was a bit disappointed with some of the things they said. And then even for some specific people to message me after and say, just keep doing what you're doing, and then say another thing in the media. So I was a little bit annoyed about that, but 70% of it was positive news, and the rest were probably Richmond supporters and the media that didn't like it. But I did speak to the club, and we had a good chat, and it's just more about language and wording, and I got to understand that all my platforms, people will be trying to get a headline out of that. So I was just saying it off the cuff type thing. I didn't mean much by it. And it's just a little reminder for me, especially that a lot of people are listening to something that I have to say. So I've got to be careful, with the platforms I use. But I'll continue to be myself as long as it's in in that manner that I can hold myself. And I've had a great chat to our media manager, Andrew Hamilton, who used to work for the Courier Mail. He's been really good for me in his light as well. So I don't know. It was a bit of a weird week last week, but a couple of people backed me up, and Big Dyl Buckley, I heard, threw some good stuff for me. So I know it's all good on my end.
No, well, I definitely did, mate, because I know, I know Tom Lynch, and I love the way, I love the way he actually plays. I think he is a very tough player. in terms of crashing packs and all that sort of stuff. And I know you very well. And I think that people that saw your comments think straight away, oh, he's just having a dig. That's what it is. But straight away, mate, like I know exactly what you were doing. You're a very calculated person. This would have been the things that you've said is for the next time Brisbane play Richmond. I'm telling you now, all these people have been bagging this out of what you're saying, but that's going to be the most watched game of the year. So in terms of that, I don't think that the AFL can be too upset with what you're saying because it's putting bums on seats and it's making it a lot more excitable for players to be watching, especially when there's underlying things that are going on behind the play. Mate, I can give you a guarantee at the end of the year that when you and Tom Lynch meet up, you'll be having a beer and it'll be funny and it'll be something that.
I like actually. He's not a bad bloke. I was speaking from personal like run-ins with him on field. Like there's no angst in it. I wasn't trying to degrade him or anything. If I see him off field, I'd be like, "How you going, man?" Like I do not hold grudges. There's nothing to do with that. No. So.
And it's funny,
that's what it is. Like I respect every player I've played against. It's just as soon as I cross that white line, it's a different game.
The blokes that I found this as well, is like the blokes that you fight with on field or you hate on field, you actually think about it. It's like when you watch a movie, I always think about it like this. Like, when you watch a movie and you see an actor or an actress and you go, I hate you so much. I genuinely, like, why would you do that? But then I think, far out, you are such a good actor or an actress that you're making me feel like that. That's the way I think about players. So I think, like, if you're a player, like, for example, like, I play against a player and you, like, I hate you. And I think, oh, my God, I just want to kill you. I hate you. Post-game, I think, fuck, I love that guy. Like, how did he make me feel like that? Like, that was incredible how he's done it. So
that's what I was kind of alluding to. Like, it's playing a role as well. Like, you can be a villain if you want, but as I said, I respect every single player. And if they get me all hot and wild on the field, they're doing a good job because that's what they got to do to get in your head a little bit, I guess. But as funny you say, that's exactly how I feel like when I'm watching a movie and there's a villain in there and I just can't stand him. Like, I fucking hate that guy. God damn. What? And then I'm like, oh, man, he's just doing such a good acting role. Like, he's just killing it.
Last point on this was, like, a lot of people were saying, post this, like, in the media, like they were saying, Brisbane sat down Mitch Robinson, gave his last warning, and said, Fagan had his words out and absolutely sprayed him and stuff. I don't want you to go into that and give us like a scoop or anything like that at all. But was the club actually disappointed, or were they just sort of sitting down and say, this is what we need to do from now on? Because from my point of view as well, I look at it in the fact of Brisbane's a club that is in a state where footy is growing, but it's not the biggest thing. You being there, and I know the comments like that they can be misconstrued both ways, but realistically, for the game, you're actually putting bums on seats. What's their view on it?
No, the club's obviously got the right intent. Like we spoke to the club. I messaged the club straight away when I saw that first article, and then we had a chat with Fags, and it was just a better reminder of the language and stuff that we use. He shows he supported me, but also you don't want to give teams ammunition, obviously going down the track in the future. But Fagan's like honestly one of the best coaches I've had, and we've got a great media team up here. So we just had a chat, a little chat about wording and language, and just like reminders about the way that the club wants to be perceived and all that kind of stuff. So there was we had a phone call, that was about it, and we moved on from that. But that's what I mean, as in things can get misconstrued. People can have their opinions in the media, and that's fine. They can say what they want to say, whether it's right or wrong. That's their opinion. That's what I said. So the best thing about the club's understanding, and they're really great towards me, but also they've got to have some guidelines as well. So it's a little reminder. There's nothing out of the norm. We have those chats with everybody. All right, I just want to quickly ask. I forgot a couple of questions about Brisbane that we'll get to just quickly, but Brisbane obviously having a very good year. I used this analogy a couple of weeks ago, and I was chatting to Matt Rao, and it's my new analogy because I love this. I love the film Moneyball. I don't know if you heard this thing, but like Moneyball in terms of like, how they pick all those players that... I love that movie. It's one of my favourite movies. There you go. So they pick all the players that are sort of not superstars per se, but they just do the team thing. They get the runs on the board. They do what they need to do. And I've been putting together a list of players that I'm adding to my Moneyball. There's not even much. This
to be honest, I've probably missed this completely. It's not my money. No. So Moneyball is like the person that probably would like all their stats are really good, but they don't have the notoriety of being like a A-grade player. But I just love the way they go about it in the team. So, for example, again, it probably doesn't fit anything that I'm talking about here, but I wanted to talk about someone from your team who I love, who doesn't get any. I don't feel like this guy gets any praise, credit, and ripper bloke. I've actually had the chance of having a few cordials with him too. But how good is Lincoln McCarthy?
Mate, it's funny you say that. When he first got up here, so on my podcast, I said something on my podcast. It's like I was a bit skeptical at the start, but he's really proved that he's going to be a great player, and he, because he had a lot of injuries at Geelong. I think he missed like a lot of games, and since he's been up here, he's missed probably a couple max. Even though he got suspended this week, but he's been one of the best pickups I've seen on a list. Who I thought was just like, we get him up here, he play a few games maybe and see how we go. Because I didn't know too much about him. And when I said that on my podcast, he pulled me up on it. He's like, mate, you can't be saying that shit. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I was trying to give you like a compliment. He's like, yeah, it's a bit of a backhanded compliment at that. So he pulled me up on it. I was like, this guy's a legend. Like, I actually love Lincoln McCarthy. He plays a selfless role as a high half forward who, as you know, that role is so bloody hard. It's one of the hardest ones in the AFL, apart from the wing, because that's what I play. It's terrible.
It's where you go to die.
It's pretty much, if you play the half forward role, if you're not kicking bags or getting up the ground and getting 20s, you're pretty much irrelevant. But he does so much good stuff for our team, and he gets praised for it a lot internally in our four walls. We know what he's worth. He's tackling, he's clutch goals. Even just last year against
he kicked marks too, man. He takes hangers too.
He's got hops galore. Yeah. So shout out to him. He's actually been a great player for us, and also the recruiters for the Brisbane Lions, because we've picked up a lot of good players in the Fagan era. So
yeah, I was available as well.
I think you weren't, because you've already signed with GWS, and then you.
Yeah, no, I mean after GWS.
Yeah. Look, we had a full list, so real busy.
Yeah.
Okay. But no, but you're doing great things now anyway. So.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that, man. Thanks, it means a lot. The last guy that I just really want to talk about is, I love this guy. I don't know what it is about this bloke. I've got a crush on him. I don't know if you've got anything to do with him. He doesn't actually play for Brisbane. He plays at Port Adelaide. Darcy Byrne-Jones.
No, I got nothing to do with him. Never
met
him.
I know, but
never met him. Never spoken to him.
I just want to tell you that I like him. Okay, mate. I've just got a couple of things to talk about before we finish, because you intrigue me. You got so many facets to whatever you are, because I don't know what it is. Like, you're a player, you're a gamer, podcaster, you do articles, all this shit. When I say shit, like good stuff. When you finish footy, what does that look like? Because like gaming is something that, I'll be honest, I used to laugh about and think, what are these guys doing, gaming and playing? Like, I hated it when, like, I'd go to a mate's house when I was a kid and they're like, let's play PlayStation. I just was never really into it. But now I'm just thinking, like, holy shit, like, you see some of these people, and I want you to maybe give some insight into the gaming world, because I don't understand it at all. But, like, you've met a lot of guys through gaming that are earning, like, millions.
Yeah. Mills. So these guys...
How does that work?
So ad revenue... so on the stream, when I'm streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mitch Robinson, when I'm on there, gaming and stuff, you can cheer for them, you can subscribe to them, which is like $5. And obviously the big time gamers are getting like 40,000 times subscribers. So you do the math, that's ridiculous numbers. And then they've got other avenues, like they can run ads on their stream when they're like having a break. They get money from that. Obviously sponsorships from playing a game. That, like, say, like if basketball comes out, they want you to play basketball and get the word out there. They'll pay them to play basketball. And then they got the YouTube revenue, like, as you're probably going to be doing soon, because you got, I don't know, like 8,000 subscribers. All right, be right back, guys. We're on a short ad right now. So that's what they do. That's where the money comes from. But that's just kind of the setup you can go down, the path you can go down. I do it because I really enjoy it. And I don't encourage people to subscribe to my channel, because it's, I'm making enough money from footy as it is, and I'm, got a stable income in the house. So I don't go down that avenue. But post-footy for Mitch Robinson, I've been passionate about becoming a player agent for a long time since I got delisted. So that's something that I really, really want to do. I've been through the highs and lows of AFL. I've had it all, then lost it all, then, making a second chance out of my footy career. And I can see the warning signs of players going down avenues that probably don't help their career. And, I've done my full real estate license, got a sports journalism degree, started doing an accounting for that aspect of, player management and that and podcasting. Like, I'm obviously passionate about this, and I've been trying to get into your DMs to try and start up something with you, but obviously you and Daniel Gorringe are boyfriends at the moment. You guys love each other, which is
No,
crazy. I'm sick of seeing you. Mate. I'm sick of seeing you two. I'm serious. What's up, guys? I'm Dan Gorringe. I'm just going to go Big Brother. Oh, let me turn around. And there's something in his ass. Like, media, don't run with this because I actually like Dan Gorringe. But that's what I want to do post footy. So I don't want to go down the avenue of doing boundary riding or calling a game or anything, because you can't really be yourself. They're all kind of robots, if that makes sense. And you have to be really politically correct to do those roles. And I like to have a left field opinion on things, and I don't think that will fly with a lot of people. So post footy, I definitely want to do media. I actually really enjoy writing. That's probably the only thing I excelled at school was English and writing. So if anyone wants to have a crack at me doing a spelling test, come at me. I'll spell anything for you. So that's what I want to do. A little bit. I reckon I've got a few eggs in a basket, but we'll suss it out. But yeah, so my main thing would be player management, and then doing some media on the side.
Cool. And off the cuff, right? Say you just said then you're looking to get into management. You got a lot of life lessons to give to people. Obviously you've been up and down, and you've come out the other side, man. Like, if you had told me that when we first met that you'd have a degree in journalism, accounting, player management, be running a podcast, and I'm not saying this in rudeness, but like, I just probably wouldn't have thought that was possible. So it's a credit. Like, I'm saying it in the credit to yourself now. Like, it's unbelievable, mate. So honestly, very, very proud of the way you've done that. What would you say to someone now? What would you say is some of the biggest advice? Like, what would be a good bit of advice you could give to a guy or a girl that's looking to, that's maybe like where you were pre your change?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me was the work-life balance. As we spoke about earlier in this podcast, that for me to be mentally switched on for AFL, say if it's an athlete trying to stay mentally fresh, you got to have the ability to be able to switch off from when you leave the footy club or your workspace to when you go home, to not take your work home with you. That's something that I used to sit in my car after training or before training, just like, fuck, man, I don't want to be here. This is just going to be a long day. Then as soon as I figured out ways to handle that pressure and things that come along with football and whatever this person may be doing, that the better. So the AFL, and especially the Brisbane Lions, we've got a great welfare manager in Andrew Crow, who makes sure that on our days off that we have something scheduled and planned, and we're doing, a lot of the players are doing uni or school or some other aspect that's not to do with AFL, and that's where the AFL in general has done such a great job in making sure that players have the ability to do something else, so we have some time off during the week, because it is a hectic job, and everyone thinks it's all daisies and what, you can't be unhappy playing AFL because it's the best job in the world. Well, some players do it for work, not for the love of it. So that's the kind of the thing I was kind of trying to implement in my career, that I had to be happy off the field to enjoy on the field. So that's something that I've worked on very, very hard, seeing counsellors, club psychs and whatnot, to making sure I do that. But a big one for me is I do a lot of journaling. So when I write my autobiography and it sells a million copies of that, it'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's sick, man. And I think 100%. I think it's everyone's, like, I've sort of been through that as a fact as well. You got to go through those things to learn it. But I think the biggest thing that we can talk about today, and as much as we're relating this to footy, like, it's not just about footy. It's about like any job that you're doing. Like, you got to have balance in anything. 'Cause otherwise, if you put all your eggs in one basket, if that basket falls, then you've only got one basket.
100%. That's
Quote
why.
that.
That is the worst quote I've ever heard in my life.
The worst quote
If that isn't the title for this video, I don't know what could it possibly be. You could clickbait the shit out of it and say something about Tom Lynch, but you use this. But if you've got all your eggs in one basket and that basket falls and the eggs don't land in the basket again, then where's the basket going to be?
I think that's a good time to wrap it up.
Dylan Buckley.
Thanks again, bro. Always good to talk to you. Where can we find you? Where can we go to find your YouTube stuff again, just quickly? Because give us all your shout outs.
Okay, shout out to my gaming channel, which is twitch.tv/Mitch Robinson. My YouTube is youtube.com/ what is it? This is a great start. The Rip Through It podcast. So just rip through it. Just search Mitch Robinson. You'll get a bunch of negative stuff on there, but you'll see me on there somewhere.
Yeah. Done. All right, brother. Always good to talk. Best of luck for the rest of the year. I'm looking forward to seeing how far these Lions can go. And just remember, actually, also to finish up, I want to get a Mitch Robinson Brisbane Lions jumper. I need one for my studio.
What studio?
Well, when I get back in my Melbourne studio, I'm going to start hanging some shiznit.
That actually did look very, very cool. But you did ask for my address. I'm just getting a bit flat that I haven't been receiving any motherfucking gear from Dyl Friends. You haven't sent me one shirt.
Look at your messages about what I've asked you for your address. You got to send me your address. I can't just send it to Brisbane.
I was one of the first on your podcast, and like Chalky Neil and that get all their stuff, and he's rocking his jumper and his tees and his hats. I'm like, where the fuck is my t-shirt?
Well, Eric Hipwood's been sliding into the DMs as well. He's very
slippery
big fan of the show.
Slippery Hill.
So he's going to be getting some gear too.
Why? He hasn't been on the podcast.
Anyway, yeah, he will be soon.
Oh God, that'd be such a boring listen. Anyway, thanks everyone for tuning into Dyl Friends podcast. This is your boy Mitch Robinson, Dylan Buckley signing out. And be yourself because everyone else is taken.